Summer is coming, and if you're listening to this in real time, it is the beginning of May. And this is the time of year where we tend to start hearing that clock ticking that we want to get into our best shape. Typically, it might be for a vacation. Maybe you've got something coming up in the summer months where you want to look and feel your best. Or perhaps actually just because it's going to be hotter, you want to wear clothes that are a little bit more loose, perhaps reveal a little bit more skin, and you want to be feeling your best. So it doesn't really matter who you are. We tend to want to look and feel our best when we are in warmer weather. But that also comes with a sense of urgency. Perhaps you've been doolalleying and you haven't actually been working on your fitness goals so far this year, and you've got to the position where now you're like, oh my God, I do not want to be feeling like this in my body right now when it's hot and when I'm going to have to be wearing more revealing clothing. Or maybe you have been trying, but you're ready to ramp up the speed of your progress and you really want to see some solid fat loss results in the next 6 to 8 weeks. The important thing is, as well, during the summer months, we tend to have a little bit more relaxed time, whether that's on a vacation, enjoying more food. You don't really want to be trying to diet throughout the summer. I've done this plenty of times myself where it's been too late and then I've got socials every single weekend. There's something to do, there's nice weather to enjoy, places to be. And then I want to be present. I want to enjoy that food and that time with loved ones, but I can't because I'm trying to lose body fat or I'm thinking about everything that I'm eating. I'm overthinking it and it's stressing me out. I have been there so many times on my journey. Just to remind you, I started my fat loss journey all the way back in 2017 and I failed so many times. There would be times where I would yo yo diet. There'd be times where I'd over restrict. There'd be times where I would binge eat. I have been through every single high and low of fat loss that you could possibly imagine. And I'm here to tell you, if I were to start all over again to do a fat loss phase, which is rapid yet sustainable in the approach to the summer months, what would I do now that I have all the knowledge of all the mistakes that I've made and I've coached over 1,000 women to get to the position where they've hit the body that they want and then they maintain it moving forwards? Where do you begin is the question. Because I don't understand necessarily why it's preached a lot in social media that doing fat loss, which is efficient or fast, is unhealthy, because actually it could be the healthiest thing that you could do. Being in fat loss for way longer than you need to be is unhealthy. You don't want your body, especially as a woman, to be in a deficit for a prolonged period of time, because what happens is you build up fatigue. You build up mental fatigue and you build up physical fatigue. The mental fatigue of always having to be meticulous with what you're consuming, and then the physical fatigue of, obviously, when you're in a fat loss phase, you're eating in a calorie deficit, you're consuming less food, and therefore you've got less energy in the body, and that becomes tiring after a while. You don't recover as well. Your body's hormones aren't as happy. Your metabolism isn't firing at its very best if you've been in a fat loss phase for a really long time. This is why women who have been chronically dieting for years, if not decades of their life, really need a metabolism reboot when they come to us, because they are just not responding in the way that they should because they spent so long in a calorie deficit. And it's actually the worst thing that you could do. So the way that we coach at Team CBM and the way that I would coach myself if I were to be starting a fat loss phase that I wanted to be nice and efficient is to make sure that I'm not in it for longer than I need to be. And so I would try and figure out the ballpark of how much body fat am I trying to lose? And you might be someone who doesn't necessarily think that the scale reading is a very accurate one to go by in terms of how you're going to feel or how you're going to look. And that's true. As you build muscle, obviously muscle is dense and it does carry weight. So if you're building muscle and losing body fat at the same time, the scale weight won't drop as rapidly as if you're just losing pure fat. However, it's still a good indicator. It's still a good indicator to know, on average, how much body weight are we looking to lose over time. So you might have an idea of a time where you felt more confident in your body, how much you weighed back then. You might have an idea of when you look at yourself in the mirror, okay, well, I think maybe if I was 20 pounds lighter, I'd probably feel happier. But there's a big difference between 20 pounds and 50 pounds. Maybe you don't have 50 pounds to lose. So you don't have to be incredibly accurate with it. But I would definitely say you would want to have a bit of a loose idea as to how much mass needs to come off of your body. And if that's something that you're not quite sure about, then you can definitely drop me a message. I'm more than happy for you to drop me a message on Instagram and just say, hey, this is my height, this is my age, and this is kind of what I'm wanting to look like. So, how much weight do you think I would need to lose? The interesting thing is, as I've spent so many years coaching now and I've seen so many different types of female bodies, there is a body weight range depending on your height and your age as to where you will probably feel your best, as in, like, when you feel your most confident. Because a woman who is very short is going to have a lower body weight. And that body weight range of where she is leaner or a little bit more athletic and toned is something that I can detect very easily now. Sometimes I'll have people say to me, oh, I think I need to lose 40 pounds. And I'll say, what's your height? What's your age? And if I even see their physique pictures, I'll be like, no, 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 no. Like, that's way too much body fat. You're overestimating here. But you want to have a bit of a loose range. Then from that point, you have to reverse engineer how much body weight are you going to lose every single week. So I might use myself here as an example. Let's use me. I am 5'4", 163 centimeters, and I'm currently 62 kilos, or around 140, 142 pounds, I think. And if I were to want to get to a very lean and athletic body composition where I know I really do like how my body looks, I'm toned, I'm defined, I know that I probably want to get to around 133 to 135 pounds. So let's say I'm looking to lose somewhere between 7 to 9 pounds of body fat. And I want to achieve that by the end of June. It's currently the 3rd of May 2025. So that gives me 8 weeks to lose 7 to 9 pounds. That's a pound a week, right? Which actually is incredibly, incredibly realistic. And this is something that I just need to caveat. If you are trying to lose an unsustainable amount of body fat in a very short time, it's not going to happen, right? And if it does happen, you're going to be putting your body through the ringer and you will end up very unhealthy coming out the other end. So please be realistic with what you are setting. If you're thinking, okay, 1 to 2 pounds a week is thereabouts where I need to go in order to get to the physique that I want, or I believe that I want, that's fantastic because you're actually going to be able to achieve that. If you're saying, well, I have 40 pounds to lose and there's 8 weeks until I have an event, I'll be honest with you that you at that event are probably not going to be feeling the most like the most overjoyed because it's not going to be the final result. You need more time. And this is quite honestly the reality of the conversations that sometimes I need to have, which is you're too late. You should have started a few months ago. But we're here now. So you still need to move your foot forward in the right direction. Otherwise, you're going to be feeling even worse. So we need to still make sure that we are plowing forwards and you can do the best in the time that you have available. So I've sussed. Now I know that I want to lose a pound per week until I get to the end of June. And from that point, I will reverse diet and maintain over summer. Now, what do? I know that I want to lose a pound a week. I need to understand exactly how many calories I should be consuming on a daily basis to lose a pound per week. A pound of body fat consists of thereabouts 3,500 calories worth of energy. And if we break that down into a daily deficit, that is a deficit of 500 calories per day, which is actually very achievable. What I would need to do is figure out what do I need to eat in terms of calories just to maintain my body weight every single day. Because then if I know how much I need to eat to maintain my body to not lose any weight, I can then take some away and that will be the number of my calorie deficit. Now, what you need to eat on a daily basis to maintain your body weight is quite honestly dependent on your activity levels, your age, your height, your current weight. These things are very important to consider. And so, in order to figure that out, that's called your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. That's the amount of calories that you will need to eat to maintain your body weight. You can very simply go to the description box and find my calorie calculator. It's one step forwards. It will actually tell you how many calories you need to be eating for fat loss, if that's the option that you select. But if you select to find what is just your maintenance, then it will also tell you that. So I would recommend from your TDEE taking 500 calories if that is the deficit that you need to be in. It gets into slightly dangerous territory if you're aiming to push a bit harder. So let's say you want to lose 2 pounds per week. Then you would need to be in 1,000 calorie deficit every single day, which is pretty intense, right? That's quite a lot. It's not unachievable, however. You would just need to make up that deficit, not only from taking food away, but actually by moving more. So we've got two tools in terms of how we can lose fat, which is a calorie deficit, so eating less food, but then also burning more calories. So what I would do is make sure that I take some food away, but I could also make up that calorie deficit by moving more. Here's an example. Maybe I think, okay, well, my maintenance calories are around 2,000 calories per day. And I know that I need to be in a deficit of 500. If I took 500 calories away from 2,000, that gives me 1,500 per day. Let's say I really didn't want to eat 1,500 calories per day. Although, as my coach brain kicks in here, I just want to tell you it's very possible to eat 1,500 calories per day and to not feel starving and to still get tons of good nutrients in, big voluminous meals if you know how to choose the right food choices, and you won't end up being hungry. However, maybe you don't want to restrict to that extent. So I would take away 250 calories and I would eat 1,750 calories per day. And then I would make sure that I am being active enough to burn an extra 250 calories per day. Now, this is an extra 250 calories per day versus the movement that you're currently doing. So if you already do 10,000 steps per day, maybe you work out 3 times per week, that is your baseline. Now we're going to have to add movement on top of that that accounts for an extra 250 calories burned. So that could be adding in some cardio, that could be adding in an extra 3 to 5,000 steps per day, and that will then mean that you're moving significantly more, you're eating a little bit less, and alas, you are in a 500 calorie deficit per day. Things get a little bit complicated as you drop body fat because as you lose fat, what happens is your TDEE changes. So the total calories that you need to eat just to maintain your body weight becomes less. As you become a smaller human, there's less energy required to maintain your body weight. So this is a process called metabolic adaptation. This means that over time, let's say after 4 weeks of fat loss, I've lost 4 pounds. My body is going to need to be in a slightly greater deficit because I'm lighter than I was when I first started. And then I might need to ramp things up to be in a 600 or 700 calorie deficit per day. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. You have to do more and work harder to get those final few pounds off. Many women believe that they just need to stick to a process, and then after a while, they're like, wait, I've stopped losing body fat. And that's because they've plateaued due to their metabolism adapting to the amount of food that they're getting and to the amount of calories that they've been burning. So appreciate, you need to preempt this. We don't want to be finding ourselves in the situation that we're plateauing, because if you're time sensitive and you want to lose body fat quickly, if you plateau, that then is costing you time, where if you'd made an amendment sooner to the calories that you were consuming or to how many calories you were burning, you wouldn't have seen it slow down. Now, this is quite a challenging thing to be able to do. I've got a sixth sense that has developed now through coaching when I can assume that we might need to turn the notch up a little bit for a client before they hit a plateau. This is difficult to read unless you know female bodies inside out, which I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're trying to learn, right? but you're not quite there. So maybe one thing that could work, it definitely works, to avoid this happening is every single week you aim to do a little bit more. This might look like if you start off for your first week doing 10,000 steps per day, maybe the next week you do 11,000 steps per day. And then the week after that, you do 11,500 steps per day. The week after that, you do 12,000 steps per day. And just like that is a domino effect where you're doing a little bit more over time. Same thing goes when it comes to the way that you're eating food. You can just knock off a small amount of calories each week. Maybe you begin your first week on 1,750 calories. Then the following week, you go down to 1,700. Then the next week after that, you go down to 1,650. Week after that, you go to 1,600. And we're talking about a short phase, right? So this is not something that I would recommend if you're doing fat loss long term. No, no, no. Because what's going to happen when you get to week 8? You're going to be at like 1,000 calories and be doing 20,000 steps per day, which is not healthy or sustainable. Do not do that. What we need to do is appreciate that this is a calculated and extrapolated process of how to remain in a deficit even whilst your metabolism adapts over a 6 to 8 week period. This will work. There is no doubts about that. But of course, for this to work, we need to have the structures in place to be tracking all these metrics, to be consuming the right food. So let's go back to the start. I've said, okay, to begin with, I'm going to keep my movement exactly the same, which for me at this point in time is 4 workouts per week, 1 long cardio session, and thereabouts 8 to 10,000 steps per day. Now, I'll start off with 1,750 calories because I don't really want to have to eat 1,500 calories from the start. But I will add in some extra movement. So what will that movement look like? Well, I'm going to put maybe an extra 2,000 steps per day. So let's say 12,000 steps per day. And I'm going to add in an extra hour of cardio across the week. If I'm doing full workouts, I'm going to decide to do 15 minutes of cardio post-workout. This is going to be nice and easy, nothing too stressful. I don't want to skyrocket my cortisol. I want to stay fresh throughout this fat loss phase. So I'm just going to do 15 minutes of incline treadmill walking after each one of my workouts. So now I'm burning an extra hour of calories every single week by doing that cardio, that incline treadmill walking. And then across the whole week, I'm going to be doing an extra 14,000 steps per day at 12,000 compared to the previous 10,000. And that is like a whole extra day of walking. So we are going to see definitely fat loss results if I stick to my nutrition. Of course, nutrition is where most people crumble when it comes to being consistent. And this is because, yes, you might know what calorie deficit to stick to, but how do you do that in practice? How do you know that you're eating the right foods? How do you not get hungry? How do you not snack? It's very complex, but it can be simplified because we are so blessed, right? That we're in this stage of life right now where you, for free, are listening to me telling you how you can get into incredible shape for summer. You're not paying anything for this, right? You're hearing this for free. And the same thing goes with all of the AI tools that can help us to create nutrition plans that really are going to allow us to put the thinking out of sticking to the right foods. It makes it so much easier. So I would say to ChatGPT, I want to stick to a calorie deficit or to a calorie target, 1,750 calories per day. I want to make sure that I'm eating at least 130 grams of protein per day. And if you use my calorie calculator that's in the description box, it will tell you how much protein you should be eating also. So I've got my calories, I've got how much protein. I know that I want to eat 4 meals per day or perhaps 3 meals and a snack. And what I'm telling you here is very important. The protein needs to be equally distributed across all of your meals. In this case, I'm going to look to eat thereabouts 30 to 35 grams of protein per meal, or maybe have higher protein meals of 40 grams and then a snack, which is thereabouts 20 grams of protein. Nice and simple. Then I tell ChatGPT, what are my favorite recipes? What type of ingredients do I like to cook with? Can you please make sure that in every single meal I'm eating at least 2 or 3 different veggies because that's important for gut health and food variety? Then, before you know it, ChatGPT has written a meal plan. The beauty here is if you stick perfectly to the nutrition plan, you weigh out all of your food and you do not deviate from what is there in that meal plan, and you don't snack and you don't just drink lots of lattes without actually considering the calorie content, you will without a doubt be in that calorie deficit. I would personally, if I'm serious about these goals and serious about getting in shape, I would personally track my food alongside the nutrition plan that ChatGPT has given me to make sure it's perfectly accurate. There is always going to be variation within the ingredients that you're using, the different types of brands. So we really want to make sure that we're getting it perfectly correct. If you're someone who's very well versed when it comes to food tracking and you don't feel that you want ChatGPT to make you a nutrition plan, you're happy to be in control of your food, the key here to actually making sure that you stick to that deficit is forward planning. You must carve out 10 to 15 minutes per day to put all of the ingredients for each meal into a food tracking app for the following day. You do not ever want to wake up not knowing what you're eating for the day. It should already be there, the quantities of everything. Let's say your breakfast is a bowl of protein oats, you already need to have that pre-tracked. How many oats you're having, what amount of protein powder you're having, the grams or the ounces of the fruit that you're having, all of that needs to already be in there. And it just makes life so simple. Even simpler is if you're extra serious and you've carved time into your diary to meal prep. This is how I honestly do things. If I were to be in a position where I'm now really aiming to get into phenomenal shape in a short space of time, I would have my meal plan created from ChatGPT. I would then scan all of my own ingredients into a food tracking app to ensure that it also matches up with the calorie target that I'm aiming for. And then I would meal prep. I just wanted to take a quick moment to interrupt this podcast episode to tell you how we transform every single woman that comes on board and works with us at Team CBM to wake up energized, confident, healthy, and in complete control of their schedule, nutrition, and exercise. And it begins with a very simple discovery call. It's just a strategy call where we get to understand your goals, your struggles, your life that much better so we know exactly what you need to do, the roadmap to get to where you want to be as efficiently as possible and in a way that's incredibly sustainable. And it means that your results will last forever. Once you begin the process, you will have everything delivered through our custom coaching app, and your tailored, personalized nutrition plans and exercise plans are created to your preferences. Whether that's home training or gym training, perhaps your nutrition could be a flexible meal plan, or it's portion guides or calories and macro targets, but we design and create that together so that it works for you. Beyond that, you will have daily communication with us if you need it, and you will have a weekly video check-in response from your coach, discussing any changes and amendments to be made for the following week. We will always review your progress monthly on a monthly progress review call, and it means that your progress and your transformation is fail-proof. It is guaranteed. Beyond coaching, we provide an extensive educational platform where we include webinars, resources, guides, recipe books. Think about the value that you get in this podcast times 100, including our community of incredible women who support each other through every high and low that you could possibly imagine. So if you're interested in finding out more about joining the world's most trusted and comprehensive online coaching company for women, then all you need to do is click in the description box below to book your complimentary discovery call. And we would love to chat more with you about your goals and to get you feeling the happiest and most confident that you will ever feel. Back to the episode. I would spend time on a Sunday making my breakfast, which would be my overnight oat pots. I would also then cook some type of evening meal. Maybe in my case, as I am vegan, I'm plant-based, I would make red lentil pasta, bolognese with a side salad, and I could prep the bolognese, I could put it into the freezer, and I'm quite happy, this is me being me, eating the same meal for a week. It simplifies things, it doesn't complicate things. You meal prep on a Sunday, you eat the same food for 7 days ahead. If you're someone who likes variety, that's fine. What I would say is maybe you batch cook your option for dinner for 2 or 3 portion servings. And then you're able to eat that maybe for 2 days or 3 days in a row max. And then the next time you cook an evening meal, again, you just double or triple the portions and spread it. So that way you've got 2 or 3 different meals that you're having for your dinner in that week. Just make sure that you are simplifying everything for yourself, because it's the days where you wake up, you don't know what you're eating, you haven't got the ingredients in the house, you eat on the go, you eat convenience foods, you're tracking that in MyFitnessPal or whatever food tracking app you use. And before you know it, you get to the end of the day, you haven't eaten your final meal and you've got no calories left. And then you either go to bed hungry, which most people don't because it's painful. You will probably end up overeating or hitting the fuck it button and just being like, oh, I messed up. I need to eat something. This day's gone to crap. I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And before you know it, you've actually ended up eating way above your maintenance. Maybe you eat 2,200, 2,300 calories that day, and you've ended up in a surplus because you didn't plan appropriately. So figure out your calories, get ChatGPT to create your meal plan, use a food tracking app, and make sure that you are meal prepping and forward planning. This is a lot to think about, right? So now you're thinking about, okay, how many steps do I need to do? How many workouts? How much cardio do I need to do? I need to meal prep these meals. I need to make sure that I'm getting these ingredients purchased and that I've got groceries in. It will get very overwhelming if you do not plan. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. The people who succeed with fast fat loss are the people who carve out the time as a non-negotiable to get this done and organized. I'll take you back to my bodybuilding days. I competed as a natural bikini athlete, even whilst I was vegan. And what do you do in a bodybuilding competition prep? You get as lean as you possibly can do. You get so lean that there's barely a shred of body fat on you. For that to be something that you achieve, there is no missing. For 6 months, 26 weeks, I did not miss weighing a single gram or ounce of food. I did not miss a single step or a cardio session or workout. And I did this whilst I was working a full-time corporate job and building Team CBM, my online coaching company for women. As you can imagine, my brain had a gazillion things to think about. So finding myself caught out to not have the ingredients that I needed or to not have the time to go and do my steps on my workout was going to cost me being ready to get on a bodybuilding stage because I wouldn't have been in condition. And it was going to cost me being competitive. What's the point in doing a bodybuilding show if you show up and you're not competitive, like any sport or any competition, right? So this is exactly what I did on a weekly and on a daily basis to ensure that nothing was missed. First thing in the morning on a Sunday. Or it could be any time on a Sunday, but a Sunday is a great day. Sunday is my Monday. It's where I plan out what I am doing in the week, because every single week things will change. You might have different work responsibilities, different social commitments. Life is busy, even more so in the summer months. But I would sit on a Sunday and I would plan out, okay, which days am I doing my workouts? That, to be honest, if you have a workout program, you should already know anyway. If you want your week to run smoothly and you want to feel your best, you should know, okay, Monday is a rest day. Tuesday at 6 p.m. after work, I go and do this workout. Wednesday, I do my Pilates class in the morning. Like whatever it is, your life should run like that. You should have that routine because when it's built into your routine, it doesn't get missed. It's just consistent. I appreciate sometimes we might need to change things around, but that's flexibility. You can't have flexibility if you don't already have structure. Because if there's no structure, there's nothing to flex. It's just a mess already. So you can't be flexible with a mess. You can only be flexible with a structure. So have your structure as to what workouts you're doing on what day. Also, when are you going to go and purchase your groceries? Do you do an online food delivery so that you know it arrives every single Wednesday afternoon? Or is it on a Sunday morning so that you're able to meal prep on a Sunday? When do you do that? Well, actually, let's reverse. When do you plan what you need to buy? Because if you go to the grocery store and you don't actually know what you need to buy because you haven't got your meal plan ready, this is again going to be so much more complicated. So, what you need to do is firstly carve in the time to map out what you're going to be eating that week. Then get your ingredients list ready. And after that, if you do an online grocery shop, make sure that you've got that scheduled so you know exactly when you're doing that. If you go to the grocery store, again, map that in every single week, same time, like clockwork. You know when you're doing it. So that way, when it comes to, let's say, a Sunday afternoon and you're meal prepping, you've already got all of the food, you know exactly what you're cooking, you know, in what quantities, and it makes your life so much simpler. So you've planned in when you're doing your cardio, when you're doing your workouts, when you're figuring out your meal plan, and when you are shopping for those groceries and when you're meal prepping. You've got all of that mapped in, it's time blocked in your diary. What about the things that we forget to think about? Like you have a step target and you walk naturally throughout the day. But if you haven't really thought that deeply about it, you're just going to assume that you're going to move enough and you get to the end of the day and you're only on 8,000 steps, but your goal is 12,000. And you have another 4,000 steps to do and it's 9 p.m. Well, at that point, you either go for a 45-minute walk or you sit on the sofa and you think, ugh, I failed again. We don't want that to happen. And so you need to engineer your day in a way that steps feel effortless. Take me, for example, here, right now, this time of year, it's the beginning of May, and I live in Dubai. What is Dubai? It's a desert, right? It's a city built in a desert. It is currently 42 degrees Celsius outside. That's probably way over 100 Fahrenheit. Don't quote me on it, but I'm sure it is. It's painful to be outside between 9 and 3 p.m. because of how hot it is. That means that I have a limited amount of time where I can be walking outside. For someone who doesn't have the flexibility of a work schedule that you can change however you want, you might need to be sat down between 9 and 5 p.m. If you work a 9 to 5 that is desk based. You must therefore plan in, okay, where am I going to do these steps? I like to think about it that thereabouts 1,000 steps is equivalent to 10 minutes of walking. It's not too far off depending on how fast you walk and how long your stride is. If I were to get 12,000 steps per day, how could I map that into my day? Well, I would wake up early. I would go for a 30 to 60-minute walk. I personally really love a long walk in the morning, grab a coffee, get some natural sunlight into my eyes. Really, really good for your body and for your mind. Listen to a podcast, listen to the birds. And what does it cost you? It costs you getting up early. It does. But you're going to have a price to pay to achieve the body that you want. And that's hard work. That is getting up early. That is being prepared. And that is doing the work. So I would wake up early and I would aim to get 5 to 6,000 steps. But if my goal is 12,000, I'm only halfway. Naturally, throughout the day, I'm quite active. I will walk up and around as much as I can do. I won't necessarily be sat for all of my meetings. I might walk and talk. I might go and get some groceries if there's something that I've forgotten. I might walk around whilst I brush my teeth. I don't know. I'll try as much as I can do during a fat loss phase to get moving. And some of the smartwatch trackers nowadays are great because they'll set little reminders to tell you to get up and get moving. Even better if you can purchase a walking pad or an indoor treadmill, which is great because whilst you're watching TV, whilst you're maybe responding to emails or having work meetings, you can be walking. And that really does add up so much. But you also want to account for, okay, let's say if I'm active throughout the day, I'll probably clock up 2 to 3,000 steps. Then that takes us maybe up to 7,000, 8,000. There's still more to get. I know that on the days where I go and do my workout, I'm going to do a 10 to 15-minute warm up, just walking on the treadmill. And then I might do a 10 to 15-minute cool down afterwards. So that's an extra 2 to 3,000 steps. That's only on the days that I work out though. So I need to map that in on the days that I work out, and on the days that I don't work out, I have to maybe go for a longer walk in the evening. You see what I mean here? It's really important that you put those step breaks in your diary so that you know, okay, morning walk is this long, lunchtime walk is this long, evening walk is this long, or I need to do at least an hour on my walking pad throughout the day as I work. You have to account for movement, and it's not something that is easily done. You have to be forward thinking about it. Then, on a daily basis, what I would recommend doing is planning in your meal timings. Your body is a machine. If it knows when it's getting fed, it will have much more regulated energy, and your hormones won't be really screaming at you to feed yourself because your body, very much so like clockwork, will know, okay, after 3 or 4 hours, I get my next meal. And you'll start to get hungry at the same times. So map in breakfast, map in lunch, map in your snack, map in your evening meal. And if you're thinking right now, oh, I can't do that because my work means that sometimes I'm here and sometimes I'm there, you're the one that believes that you can't do it. You're the one that is not setting boundaries in place. We've worked with so many women who genuinely have believed that they're not able to have regular meal timings because of their work. And the only reason that they weren't able to do it is because they just didn't set the boundary in place. Hairdressers and salon owners, they were saying, like, oh, if I've got clients back to back to back, or if I've got meetings back to back, guess what? You're the one that is allowing that to happen. You must be respectful of your body and your health, and you must set a hard boundary. If you are, for instance, a salon owner, you're incredibly busy, and you're on your feet all the time looking after clients, you can put a hard boundary in that between 1 p.m. and 1:15, you eat your meal prep, and during that time, there's someone who covers for you at the reception desk, and you don't book any clients in during that time. If things don't go to plan, you kindly ask someone, hey, I haven't eaten anything today. I'm really not feeling so great and we've got a long day ahead. Do you mind just covering me for 5 to 10 minutes so I can eat my meal? Let's say you're back to back on meetings and someone's put a meeting in your diary. You can absolutely say, hey, I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to listen in right now and turn my camera off if it's a virtual meeting because I need to eat my lunch. I've got a big day ahead and I'm feeling hungry. These simple conversations mean that you don't end up overeating and binging at the end of the day because you respected your meal timings. And you will be hungry during a fat loss phase. Hunger is a sign that your body is in a deficit. And that is a good thing. You will feel some hunger, but it shouldn't be to the point where it's excruciating, right? You shouldn't be getting incredibly lightheaded. You shouldn't be feeling low blood sugar, drowsy, incredibly irritable. If you feel that hungry, then your food choices are not good enough because they're not keeping you satiated, or you're severely under eating, or your meal timings are off. And maybe you're chronically underslept. If you're tired and you don't sleep enough, and you also don't consistently eat your meals at the same times, you are naturally going to be really hungry. And that is just a complete disaster. What I said earlier about keeping cortisol low, this is key. The more stressed out that your body gets, the more you deviate, and also the more your body is going to hold onto body fat because cortisol causes body fat storage around the midsection, and we do not want that. That's literally the last thing that we're wanting. So we want to keep your body feeling fresh, and to do that, you need to eat consistently, you need to move consistently, and you also need to sleep consistently. Another thing that you should be mapping into your day is what time do you start winding down? What time do you log off from work? How can you guarantee that you get 8 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night? This is essential because your body burns so much more body fat whilst you sleep. The amount of studies that have been shown that people who are obese for years of their life barely get any good quality sleep. And then those who get amazing sleep consistently are naturally more lean, athletic humans. So you've got your bedtime mapped in, your bedtime ritual, your sleep time. This is a military operation that you'll be running. And it's pretty mentally intensive, right? Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying, like, I live my life like this all the time. I'm talking about this is what I would do if I knew that in 8 weeks, I wanted to look so incredible and to feel phenomenal in whatever I put on my body, and that is the price to pay. It's to be regimented with how you eat, how you sleep, how you move, because good things take effort, but it's a fail-proof formula. It is absolutely fail-proof. The most important thing to know is that when you come out the other side, that you're going to have to carefully reverse back to more sustainable habits. It is not possible that you just go back to eating whatever you want, not moving that much, working out less, sleeping less, and you still maintain your body. You will gain body fat back very quickly. What we need to do is slowly reduce your expenditure. Maybe you start to drop out a little bit of cardio. Maybe your steps slowly come down over time. Maybe you introduce an extra 100 to 200 calories per day. And that is a sensible way to go about it. If you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to get in amazing shape, I'm going to go on my vacation for a week, and then I'm going to come back and just go back to life as normal. Honey, it's not how it works. If you want to maintain this body long term, we're in a new lifestyle now. So, yes, on your vacation, go and have a great time. You can't really gain that much body fat in a week. But when you come back, you need to make sure you're replenishing. Well, you would have replenished your energy after having a vacation, but you're replenishing your efforts to consistently hit a step target, but maybe it's not as high as it was before. And then you're also tracking your food, but you have a little bit more food to play with. From that point onwards, what we do with our clients once they've reverse dieted is we transition them into maintenance. And that means that after a while of doing that, they've got to the position where they know what their portion sizes look like. They know what their go-to meals are. They don't necessarily need a meal plan anymore if they are practicing the correct habits. They also have the habits in place where going on a 30 to 40-minute morning walk, for instance, is just actually what they do. Like they love it. It's just what they do. They don't see that as a chore or a burden or a change. It feels natural. You've probably found it so many times before in life where maybe you've started a new career or some new work that trying to get to grips with the processes has been quite mentally challenging. But then before you know it, you're teaching someone else how to do it because you're like, this is just how we do things, right? And that's where it just becomes second nature to you. It will become second nature to you when you become a healthy person with a healthy lifestyle. So when you go into a maintenance phase, you're naturally sticking to the habits that you need to do for maintaining that body and eating a consistent amount of food that will maintain your body weight. Same thing when it comes to the movement, and same thing when it comes to sleep, because trust me, okay, trust me on this. People who say that they can't sleep or they don't sleep very well or they struggle with sleep or they're a night owl or whatever it might be. Honestly, if I had a dollar for every single time this happened. When we work with clients and we finally get them into an amazing sleeping routine and we fix their sleep, the cost of not sleeping very well and the pain that they feel when they haven't slept well is never worth having. And instead, they revert back to the habits that they know allows them an amazing sleep because they feel amazing, they perform better, they move more throughout the day with better energy, the body holds on to less body fat. And it, again, as I say, becomes second nature. So, this is not just an 8-week process if you're wanting to lose body fat quickly. Double it, if not even triple it, because you're going to lose that body fat. And then you need to account for, okay, we need to gradually phase out of that more intensive process of fat loss. Then I need to practice maintaining the habits without the stabilizer wheels. You become more relaxed when it comes to not having to weigh and track all of your food, but you're still tracking your body, your measurements to make sure that you're not gaining body fat back. And this is the process that all clients who come to us go through. They'll either go through a fast fat loss phase, depending on if there is an urgency to it. If there's not urgency and actually they have a lot of body fat to lose, we would just make sure that that process is not so intensive and that it's actually pretty much sustainable within their life. But what we're talking about here is rapid fat loss, and rapid fat loss is not sustainable and it won't feel sustainable. But if that's the way that you do it, I can promise you, without a doubt, you're going to be feeling and looking incredible within your own skin. And the whole over restrictive mindset, the all or nothing approach will vanish because you just understand this is literally the thermodynamics. This is what I need to do. How many calories in, how many calories out to lose body fat. This is a temporary process and this will get me to where I want to be. And you'll maintain a great, healthy relationship around food when you're fueling yourself consistently throughout the day. When you enjoy the movement that you're doing, it's not going to feel like you're over exercising or like you're punishing yourself. All of that is a perception. But when you perceive your fat loss journey through, I'm doing the science backed, sensible approach, and I know that this is going to get me to where I want to be. And then long term, I'm going to phase this into a healthy lifestyle. What can I say? That's the magic. That's the magic, in all honesty, of how every single woman at Team CBM completely transforms with us and then is able to maintain that long term. And it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel painful. They don't feel like they keep failing. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. And if you have done, please drop a like, make sure that you leave a comment if you have any questions, and subscribe if you haven't already. Or if you're listening on Spotify, then please rate the podcast. It really, really helps. It helps so much. So if you find all of this information useful, do me a favor, give back, and make sure that you support the podcast. If you feel like you got a lot of value from that episode, then you need to go and listen to episode number 9, 8 steps to melt body fat faster than ever. It's going to change everything for you.